All right, it's a Tuesday, not a Monday. Christian McCaffrey called the Saquon Barkley situation criminal. Good morning. I hope everybody's good. Just taking a little peek through the feed and revisited yesterday's McCaffrey tweet. The news of the day yesterday was really the Kyle Juszczyk appearance on the pod. So if you missed it here on this YouTube channel or on the podcast feed, you get the podcast feed. If you're about to head out for the day and you don't have the ability to YouTube on the move, check out the link in the description of the podcast. You can get the Kyle Juszczyk interview there or watch it here on YouTube. We appreciate it. Either way, hit that like, hit that subscribe. We talked about McCaffrey with Juszczyk. It was for all the ongoing, what's Ayuk's contract going to be? What's the quarterback situation going to be? McCaffrey's contract, obviously, as all these other running backs are making the same amount of money. Like 5 of the best running backs in the NFL are making $10 million this year, sharing each basically almost the exact same contract. They're not all on the tag, but no deal for Saquon, no deal for Josh Jacobs, no deal for Tony Pollard. Hell, I mean, if Tony Pollard doesn't get hurt last year in the Cowboy 49er game, that could be a different game. That changed the feel of that game. So I think what's interesting about it, and McCaffrey called that situation criminal, he's the highest paid guy at the position in the league. Him at $16 million, the average annual value is what always gets quoted. But even the real number, the largest total guarantee among running backs, $36 million. That's the number. Him and Alvin Kamara. That's the number, $36 million. And when you think about a few things here with him that makes it just feel, even though you're paying for the highest paid guy or around the highest paid guy, what a great value it is. Kyle Juszczyk called him one of the greatest players he's ever seen, one of the best players he's ever seen, not been around, seen. And, after watching him play half a season for the 49ers, I think it's pretty clear and it's a big but if they win a Super Bowl with McCaffrey, then he is one of the greatest acquisitions in NFL history. I'm not saying one of the 5 greatest. I'm not saying one of the 10 greatest. I haven't thought about the list. I just know if you make the list, and I think there's a good way to talk about some of this stuff. It's not 5 greatest, 10 greatest. This isn't a summer debate on First Take. But I just know you couldn't make the list without him. I don't know where he'd be on the list, but if they win the Super Bowl, you couldn't make the list without him because they got him for a 2nd round pick, a 3rd and a 4th. And those picks have already come and gone, and a 5th in 2024. If his production for another 2 years continues at around the same level, then, it's definitely one of the, we can put a number on this, probably 5 great player acquisition moves of the Shanahan era. Some might put it number 1. I mean, Trent Williams, pretty good. The Kittle draft, pretty good. Debo, pretty good. Say what you want about Jimmy, pretty good. That one fell in their lap maybe a little bit more, but he was not the best player at his position like Christian McCaffrey might very well be. So even though he's the largest contract among running backs, think of it this way. His cap number next year, 2024, not 2023. Let me make this bigger. His cap number 2024, this year it's $3.4 million. Next year it's $14 million. In 2025, it's $14.3 million. Goes up a little bit. And that's it. And I think if you look to the right, that red number, his dead cap number in the last year of this deal is $6.4 million. 2 years away is a lifetime in the NFL, and it's 2 lifetimes for an NFL running back. But who knows? Who knows what's going on in the post 2024 season? Is there talk that he's going to hold out? Has he had 2 incredible years and he wants a new contract? Is it not going great and we're talking about dead money? Who knows? But right now, we know for the next 2 years, he's making $3 million and, he's making 11, but the cap number is 14. That cap number of $14 million in 2024 is almost exactly half of what Deebo Samuel is making in that same year. his highest cap number years, it's around half of what Debo's making. So he's making his cap number is his cap number is $14 million. That's not useful. His cap number is $14 million in 24. Debo's is 28. In 25, Debo's cap number is 24 million, so it goes down by 4. And McCaffrey's is 14 again. So it's, like 58%, 60% of Debo's number. That is incredible. And I think it really illustrates what should be the Super Bowl pressure on this team this year and next year. You have prime McCaffrey. You have prime Kittle. You have prime Debo. You have prime Juszczyk. You have prime Fred Warner. You have prime Bosa. You have prime Mooney Ward. You have prime Eric Armstead. Let me know if I'm missing any primes there. Prime Jake Brendel. You have early prime Ayuk on this team, maybe for one more year. And you have extended prime Trent Williams. Maybe we'll see this year. Maybe we have early prime Hufanga. Maybe early prime, maybe. Diameter Lenore. Oh, you got prime Dre Greenlaw. And prime Javon Hargrave. I mean, I don't think I'm missing any primes there. That's a lot of primes. Maybe pre-prime or early prime, we'll see. Juwan Jennings. That's a lot of prime players. And as every team with a running back who's really good is going through a headache. The Cowboys just finished their long headache. Alvin Kamara was a headache, but a very good player. Derrick Henry problem, not him the guy, but just what do you do with his contract? They're paying him $10 million. Saquon, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, all these guys. And the 49ers just acquired maybe the best guy at the position with the most stable contract situation at the position. Yes, it's the highest, basically. But it's still a really good deal when you consider how much they use him. I mean, and here's the other thing, if you're McCaffrey and you're thinking, you say what you say yesterday, you call the contracts criminal. And yes, supply and demand is a cruel mistress. But if you're McCaffrey, on one hand, you could look at it and go, yeah, man, you're making what you're making. Thanks for the support. Clearly, all the running backs mobilized yesterday to support. But at the same time, even though, he's set, I think it's fair for him. Like, he had more touches than any receiver in the NFL last year. He had more touches than Tyreek. He had more yards. Forget about touches, yards. He had more yards. Devontae, all these guys, they're making that's twice his salary. Some of these guys are making twice, right? When you look at receivers, he'll see it next year. Debo's twice. So I get it. If you're him, you're like, yeah, I got $64 million coming off one of the great seasons in NFL history. But these other guys are making 120. If they keep Ayuk, he'll sign a bigger contract than the one McCaffrey has. We'll see who leads him in catches this year. We just had that conversation the other day. Could be Christian. A lot of people think it's going to be Ayuk, but it could come. It could come from a real place. He's in no position to do anything about it, even if he wanted to, and he may not want to. But that day's coming because it always comes at that position. It came for him. He just signed the contract. He took, and it was a good contract for running backs, but he signed the contract that would have been very different if he were a receiver. I was just watching before we interviewed Juice the other day. I was to do some prep. I went back and watched some more of. I had watched some of George Kittle's appearance on Theo Vaughn's podcast, but it was like 3.5 hours long. I didn't watch all of it, so I went back and watched some more of it. And they got into it there as well about tight ends. And again, it's true. There's just, the trouble is there's different ways to succeed at that position. There's not really different ways to succeed at receiver. Just the guys who catch the most balls, by and large, get paid the most. The guys with the biggest downfield threats, by and large, get paid the most. McCaffrey is a different player than some of these other guys, but they all play the same position. Austin Eckler. Did I say Austin? I don't think I said Austin Eckler earlier. That's another one. He had more catches than McCaffrey. He had like 100. Christian had 85 catches last year. I think Eckler had 107 or something like that. And he didn't carry the ball as much, but he's a running back. He touched the ball a ton. What's the difference, right? If your yards are high and your touches are high, then you're doing a lot of the work. Especially if you play. Well, it doesn't matter. I think the Chargers threw the ball a lot. Well, Eckler caught it a lot. The Niners were basically 51% pass and 49% run, I think, which is near the bottom of the league in pass percentage. Well, what difference does it make? McCaffrey touched the ball a lot. So watching these guys, I couldn't help but think about and see McCaffrey tweet just about how easy this situation became for them. Just because they traded for one of the best players in the league under contract. And I don't know if it's luck that maybe they don't do the deal, or maybe the deal doesn't cost them as much if he's not under contract, but he was. And they have cost certainty with him. They don't have cost certainty with some of their other guys, but they have cost certainty with him, and he's one of their best players. So it just really is. It's really crazy. Third string all pro. How do you pay guys who line up everywhere? I don't think it's that cut and dry. I agree that it's not that cut and dry. Clearly it's not that cut and dry, but I think we can also all look at the situation and go, it's a little out of whack for them. Now, if you're there's two different conversations here. If you're the NFL, if you're a GM, Derrick Henry replied to a tweet from Matt Miller that said, basically, draft a running back, tag him once, and then move on. As long as this is the situation, then the formula is pretty clear, with some exceptions. McCaffrey's kind of an exception, although that's, the Panthers kind of followed it in a rebuild. No, I agree. It's not the tight end one is difficult, but the tight end one, you got guys that do not block, who just catch balls and are viewed as tight ends, because sometimes they kind of play tight end. But, Cooper Kupp lines up next to the tackle sometimes too. No one ever confuses him for a tight end. Still blows my mind how cheap we got McCaffrey. Yeah, the only concern with him, you go back and watch all the stuff we talked about, was just injury. If he's healthy, then he's one of the best players in the league. Yeah. Running backs deserve better. The problem is, as somebody said earlier, the problem is just you can find the replacements at such a reasonable cost. And the outliers are rare. If McCaffrey had played for Shanahan, would he have cost even more? Would Kyle have gotten even more out of him? Or the Panthers just got so much out of him, a 1K season, it was going to be hard to top that? Maybe. Maybe. But the Niners have found a way to get some of the best players at their positions, thus some of the most expensive players at their positions. Debo, they're kind of in this boat with Debo. How do you quantify Debo? Everyone that watched him knew one of the best players in the league. Really weird situation, too, with Saquon. I didn't realize Saquon hired a second agent last month till I read some of the stuff yesterday. Like, he has an agent with Rock Nation, then he hired a second agent from CAA. Bizarre. That's got to make it hard to negotiate. And definitely makes the team feel like they've got the advantage. But, we'll deal with this stuff with Ayuk, and I don't think we'll deal with it with Bosa. They're just going to blank check them. But it really does illustrate kind of what Debo's making too. When you go, Debo and McCaffrey, they're kind of interchangeable. Well, not really when it comes to the finances, they're not. Question: what are McCaffrey's MVP odds? That is a great question. I actually love that question because I think it's a good bet. Let's see here. MVP odds. Not a sponsor. Mahomes, Josh, not a sponsor. Josh Allen, Hurts, Herbert, Lamar, Let's get to a non-running back here. Justin Fields. There's Brock at plus 5,000. What is going on with Trey Lance's photo? You guys see this? Trey Lance's photo is just his teeth. All right. God, this is. There's McCaffrey. I like that bet. I like that bet a lot, actually. That is a great idea. MVP NFL history. Last non-quarterback was. You got to go a long way. I mean, I love it just because I think there's value there. Is that true? 2006, LaDainian Tomlinson. Whoa, LT, what a shirt. 2006 LaDainian. Yeah, last non-quarterback MVP, 2006. You know, that might be a little video. Oh, 2012. Did I miss AD? I did miss AD. Thank you. 2012, Adrian. Thank you. Yeah, and what happened? I mean, Adrian, was that before Adrian Peterson signed the biggest contract? He signed a $75 million running back contract. So, you know, that's what it takes, being one of the best running backs ever, having an all-time great running back season to win that award. Sure. Yeah. You should bet it. Tight ends underpaid too. Yeah. I mean, the best ones are. You know, that's part of it. The best ones are not interchangeable. George Kittle is not replaceable. Travis Kelce is not replaceable. I went to 2000 because we got this comment. Derrick Henry went for over 2,000 yards in 2020, didn't get a single MVP vote. What was the voting that year? The Heisman's gone that way. No, I'm not looking for the NBA. So that year, well, I'm not even going to get the whole thing here. Whatever. That McCaffrey idea is a very good idea there, Bark Hill. I'll just send the money to Bark Hill. Is that an easy way to find you? Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I mean, this is, we're rehashing the same conversation of it being criminal. That part we get, but it's just I think it was just an opportunity to really look at McCaffrey coming off of the Kyle Juszczyk conversation, which he, just saying his praises. If you didn't hear Juice, he talked about a lot, and it's worth checking out. I think. I thought he was excellent. He actually said some stuff that has gotten some reaction that maybe we circle back to later in the week, tomorrow or something. I'm headed off to Pac12 Media Day this week. It's in Las Vegas. It's on Friday morning. And, there will be a preseason poll coming out soon. I'm super into that. I love that. And so maybe I'll talk about that somewhere, because I think it's a very interesting year. Yeah, I mean, McCaffrey's an exception. The Ezekiel thing was brutal. Watching them turn him into a long snapper, that was painful. Let's be fair. When we talk about Brock Purdy's injury at the NFC Championship game, let's not forget what happened to Tony Pollard and how difficult Tony Pollard was to stop. It's, the injuries, they work both ways. The breaks, they go both ways. And if you play a full NFL, if you watch 17 games in a postseason, it's just, you're going to see your team gain from some. You're going to see your team lose from some. Don't forget about the ones your team gains from. Le'Veon. I remember. We talk about running backs like it's a decade ago. I remember Le'Veon Bell. Yeah. It's wild. Just wild. All right. Had to keep it tight. Had to move on to other things. Hope everybody has a great day. If you're watching live, if you're not watching live, great. Hope everything's working out for you. And check out the podcast down in the description. Subscribe to the channel. Half of you watching this video, I've got the numbers, are not subscribed. you're watching, thank you. Subscribe. Just subscribe. Hit that like button. Thanks, y'all. And yeah, go check out Juice if you haven't watched it already. Adios.